Shalom everyone. Now, as some of you may already know, which I've made very clear in the past videos, I dislike very much, I don't want to say hate, but I dislike very much Allah, Muhammad and Islam. I think they're of the devil, and Muhammad actually did, no matter what Muslims might say, I believe that Muhammad actually did borrow stories and religious material from other religions, and so there are things within Islam, such topics like modesty and other things that I actually do believe are beautiful, that I do like and I do agree with. And I'm making this video because a sister on Instagram yesterday sent me a message saying that she had actually watched a video of mine about touching the opposite sex, and she said that I was clearly in favor of quite strict rules, which I am, and she asked me a question which I thought was a really good question, and I thought that I would do a written response and thought I would also do a video response as well to the question. The written response I actually did write on Facebook, and I responded that way, and so I thought I would do the actual video now. And because I have already written notes down, I will be half reading, half explaining myself, so if I am looking down, it's just because I am looking at my notes. And so the question she asked was, what do you think about the Islamic custom of sex segregation in family gatherings? Now, we all know by now that Islam actually promotes gender segregation. The Islamic stance on gender segregation deals with protecting actually both sexes so that they don't actually fall into sin, and so that they do not really cross that line into what is considered indecent behavior, so they don't fall into adultery or fornication. And there have also been fatwas forbidding free mixing between males and females when alone. I think the objective of that clearly is so that it can all, I suppose, be kept at a modest level. And according to Islamic law, men are not actually allowed to touch any part of the female body, whether that female be a Muslim or a non-Muslim. That is not your spouse or a family member, and that's vice versa too, obviously, where female aren't allowed to touch, any part of the male body unless it's their spouse. And all this doesn't actually mean that women and men can't see or talk to each other at all, ever, but there are certain rules that do need to be followed. Now, what are my thoughts on gender segregation in Islam? Well, this is one thing that I actually do agree with, and I do agree with the Islamic stance to some degree, whether in a family gathering or a social gathering in general. I think whether or not I am strict with some things, there are certain things that I suppose need or should be common sense as well, regardless. I think if we are to keep certain rules and have boundaries, with the opposite sex, and we do have some sort of segregation, whether we are married or in a relationship or even single, it will bring us dignity, distinction, morality, and of course protection. I personally have always been very, very strict with the opposite sex. I personally will not, socialize with any males individually on a one-on-one basis. So I will not catch up with you for coffee. I will not give you a hug. I will not high-five you, for instance. There will just be no touching of any sorts. There will be no socializing of any sorts, or private talks. Months ago, I even posted on my Facebook that I would not be accepting any more male friend requests. And as private as I may be, there is someone, and he knows who he is, that actually has my heart. My heart does belong to him, who means the world to me, and he's the most amazing man of Yahweh ever. And so I'm simply not interested in getting to know anybody else, socializing, speaking to anyone, in a private sense. And trust and loyalty are a big, huge thing with me anyway. And so I would actually never jeopardize, that friendship or relationship with that person by wasting time speaking to other males. I take relationships and love quite seriously and have too much respect for the other person. I believe that free mixing and socializing, for instance, if you are with your partner and you're going to go and catch up with your friends who may also be married, or in a relationship, and you're in a group setting, I think that's fine. However, I think free mixing between men and women when alone is a bit risky, especially if you are in a relationship or married. And I think that should sort of be approached with a bit of caution. Now, I'm not saying all of this because I'm legalistic in any way, but as I said, some things are also, or should be, common sense. If you're already married or in a relationship, you don't need to spend days on end with a friend from the opposite sex, hanging out with them, chatting with them days on end. I think that's kind of disrespectful to your partner, to your spouse, and kind of inappropriate, and I don't think that should be happening, and shouldn't happen. And all in all, I think everything should be approached by bringing it to your spouse, to your partner. And as believing women, I think ask the permission of your spouse in all situations and giving him that respect. And I do know that many will not agree with me and my stance on many things, not just gender segregation, and that is absolutely fine. I'm sure many will disagree and kind of even be shocked with my views, and that's okay too. That is your prerogative. But I am who I am, and my views have always been, whether I am Muslim or was Muslim, so to say, whether I was Muslim, whether I'm, Torah observant now, my views haven't changed. I am very strict with some things, and I'm very old-fashioned that way, but that is just me. So yeah, that is kind of my response to the question. I hope I answered it. And yeah, so thank you for listening, and until next time, shalom.